This week, it's another delicious pasta recipe, and our one simple recipe this week is a lemony pasta that's inspired by the Amalfi Coast. So let's get started, and we'll talk all about pasta, because I do get a lot of questions about the carbohydrates in pasta, and is it healthy, is it not? So let's go ahead and get started. This is a really simple, easy dish. I love it. I just love lemons, so this is a great opportunity to get that lemony flavor in your pasta. All right, so to get started, we're going to use a 100% whole wheat pasta. Last week we used the Sfolini. No, I'm not pronouncing that right. Sfolini, the Sfolini pasta. That is wonderful. But this week I thought it'd be good to do a whole wheat pasta. I love whole wheat pasta. This particular brand, Lalo, has a great whole grain pasta. It's 100% whole wheat, uses really fabulous durum wheat, and it's not so heavy in that whole wheat flavor if you're not really a fan of that. So I do really like it, and we'll talk a little bit about nutritionally. Now, to get started though, we are going to, I have my water boiling over here. I wanted to get that started. I did get a new pasta pot. So last week I was using my red stock pot that takes forever. This one is great. So it was like recommended on Amazon. It was it was actually recommended at a couple of cooking websites that I follow and blogs, but it was like $45 on Amazon. It's like great. Anyway, I have it going, so I'm just going to take the lid off, and we're going to do some things to this pasta water that's a little bit unique. All right. And that's going to bring this is like, again, when we talked about layers of flavor, this is going to bring the first layer of flavor when it comes to the lemon, which is making this pasta, that lemony Amalfi Coast pasta. So I have 4 lemons, and that's what you're going to need. I did a little bit ahead, but just to get started, you're basically going to start with taking 2 lemons, and you're going to create these wide strips of the lemon peel, trying not to get the white pith. The easiest way to do that is I just took my vegetable peeler, and I went down, the sides of the lemon and pulled it off. So I did 1.5. So I just wanted to show you. So just using a vegetable peeler, and just run it down. It's like the perfect way to do it, because you don't get any white on the underside of the peel, because that just tends to be, that's the pith, and that tends to be what's a little bitter. So in a lemon, it's really the pith and it's the seeds that are going to add some bitterness, and we really are kind of trying not to do that. All right, so I'm going to finish up this lemon, and we're trying to get as wide strips as possible, because we are going to need to take these out of the water. So we have 2 lemons now that are that we've completely removed the peel. So here they are. We're going to drop them into the water. I'm going to turn my water back up. Into the pasta water. So they go in, they're going to start to infuse that really nice, rich lemony flavor into the water. That's going to also be infused then into the pasta. All right, so we have that. Now we're also going to add some salt, and this is, again, if you're sodium sensitive and blood pressure, you're really watching that, go easy on the salt, that's fine. You do want, though, this water to be pretty, not overly salty, but salty, because we're going to use the pasta water then to help create this sauce that we want for the lemony pasta. So the recipe really calls for about 1.5 teaspoons, which sounds like a lot, but again, not, very little. Some of that's going to get absorbed into the pasta, but a lot of it's going to stay in the water. And we're using some of that to help with the seasoning of the sauce. So we do want some of that sodium and that salt. So I'm going to add just probably a little over a teaspoon. And then we're going to add just a pinch of sugar. So I think it's about a teaspoon of sugar, just slightly. It's a little bit, just to add a slight sweetness. And that's it. So we're creating that lemony pasta water. And now, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. You can see, I don't know if you can see this or not. I hope you can. Maybe not, but it's already, the lemon peels are turning the water yellow. How cool is that? All right, so there's our first layer of lemon flavor. So once this really starts coming back up to a boil, which it should here in a second, let me just turn it all the way up. All right, so we're going to add the pasta, and again, you want this pasta to be al dente. So on here it says 10 minutes. I'm probably even going to go 9, maybe a little under 10, because we are going to finish it. We're going to finish this pasta to create the lemon, cooking it in like the sauce. And so when you do that, the trick is that you don't want your pasta to get too soft. That, to me, I love pasta. I probably make pasta every single week. and have it for lunches, and I'll have it like reheat it for dinners. I just love it as a base for a lot of other things. But I hate it when it gets too soft. So I usually undercook it, especially if I know I'm gonna cook it again a little bit in a sauce. I might cook it a little bit longer if I'm not gonna do that, but I always love it to have just that toothsomeness. You know, I wanna have texture in my pasta. So let's go ahead, we're gonna throw it in here, and I'm gonna set the timer for about 9 minutes, and then I'll let it go just a little bit longer, because I do want, this isn't quite back up to a boil, so I'm just gonna try to get this up here really quickly. All right, maybe I put my lid on a little bit, we can do that. Then I'm just gonna stir it every once in a while, just make sure that pasta doesn't stick together. All right, so we have the pasta going. Now we're gonna start it's like a lemon pesto, all right? So I have this cute little tiny Cuisinart, or just a food what is a Cuisinart? My daughter gave it to me and I love it because sometimes I don't want to get out my big food processor. I don't really need it. This is a perfect example when I don't need it because this isn't going to make a whole lot. But anyway, so we're going to make the pesto, and the pesto is a combination of pistachio, which again, some of this the ingredients that we're using, not only do they add incredible flavor, and pistachios and lemon it's so good together, but they also help with just the color, because almonds would add a little too brown, and walnuts would do the same thing. You could, from a taste perspective, they'd be delicious, but the green from the pistachio, I think, is a nice complement to the lemony yellow. Before I start this, let me just give this another stir here. Oh, you know what I just forgot to do? So you don't want to do this. Don't repeat this. And that's fine. I'll take them out later. But you do, when you want to you have your water started, right? You add your lemon peel, you add your sugar, a little bit of sugar, and you add the salt. And get that up to a boil. Once it comes to the boil, before you add your pasta, you're going to want to scoop and remove the lemon peels from the pasta water so that they don't kind of get mixed up into your pasta. Let me just take a peek though. Actually, you know what? They're floating on the surface. So if you do what I just did and forget to take them out, just get like a little strainer, and then you can just pull them right out. So here they are. So, okay, so I'm going to take this out. I'm just going to drop them into my food processor. They will, again, as I always say, I love putting lemon down my food processor because it helps that smell so good. All right, so let me just get all of these out. And then the wider you make the lemon peels to put into the water, the fewer you'll have to take out. So just do the best you can with that. All right. I actually wonder, well, we're going to use the lemon zest, so we don't really need these extra peels. All right, I think I got them all. And I think I got them, and that pasta is down below, so that worked out really well. All right, but yeah, so pull those out. But if you don't, that should be fine. You should definitely still be able to get them. All right, so to make the lemon pesto, we're going to use a half a cup of pistachios. These are salted. You can use salted or unsalted. I just happen to have salted, so I'll go back. I'm going to cut back a little bit on the salt before the additional salt. So half a cup of the pistachios. I want to peek at my recipe because I'm always forgetting. There's nothing in this. Just such a few ingredients, but I still can't remember. All right. So anyway, so we have our pistachios in here. Now you're going to use 2 more lemons. All right. So now we want the zest of the lemons. So we did that wide peel, but now you're going to use your zester, and you want the zest of 2 full lemons. I'm not going to zest this particular lemon because I had a bunch of lemons, and I needed the juice, and I didn't need the zest. So I went ahead and I zested all those lemons, and I put them in a little jar, and I have this in my refrigerator. I have it labeled with the date. Lemons. This was a zest of 4 lemons. I've already used probably 3 of those lemons from here. But anyway, so I had this in my freezer, so you can do that. So save everything. So like right now, these lemons that let's roll away. These lemons that I took the peels off of, I don't need the juice from these lemons for this particular recipe. So either these are just going to go in my refrigerator, in my vegetable or fruit drawer, and I'll pull them out and use them for juice later, or I'll wedge them up. But if I don't, then I'm going to squeeze these and put them in a jar, which I do have a jar frozen, of lemon juice, and keep them in my freezer, label them, and you either put it in a big jar or a smaller jar, so you can take just label them how many lemons are in there, and then you have the juice and it's ready to go. That way they don't just sit in your refrigerator and then you end up throwing them out, right? So anyway, just try to think about that as far as, just being aware of food waste and being a little bit conscious of that. All right, so I don't have to zest anymore my lemons. You would zest 2 lemons. I already have the zest of the lemons. So like I said, this is probably getting close to, I think this might be like 3 lemons. I think I've already used probably the zest of one of them out of this. So I'm going to add what I'm guessing to be probably this. Well, you know what, as I'm looking at it, no, I'll take it back. This is probably just 2 lemons. It doesn't look like it's as much unless I used a little bit more. All right, so the zest of 2 lemons is going to go in there. Now we're going to add a little bit of salt. I'm going to go easy on the salt because the pistachios are already salted. So, a quarter of a teaspoon is probably all you need. You might need a little bit more depending if you're using unsalted. But again, sodium is your preference. You do it to your taste. And then we're just going to add, just for the little bit of sweetness that helps to take the edge off I'm not saying the bitterness, because zest isn't bitter, but it's, it does have a stronger flavor and can lean slightly bitter. So just a half a teaspoon of sugar is just going to help that out a little bit and add a little more flavor. All right, and then it's just some ground pepper. So this is just, the pesto so far is just a half a cup of pistachios, the zest of 2 lemons, a half of a teaspoon of sugar, a little bit of salt depending on those pistachios, and some ground pepper, all right? So we're gonna whirl this up a little bit, and my pasta's going. How many minutes do I have? About 3 minutes left. So I'm gonna let that kind of go here. All right, let me just whirl this up. So we're kind of making a little pesto, lemon pesto. And it's really, so just like, take this off the So just well, there's one big chunk in there, but basically we're trying to get it to kind of like a coarse sand. Maybe and I'll get this a little finer, but a little bit finer than that, but you want some texture to it. All right, so let me just do it a teeny bit longer. But isn't this little food pasta so great? So again, easy to clean. It's so much easier than a larger one where you don't need that much. Okay, now we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil, all right, just like you would if you're making a basil pesto. So it does call, and it's 1/3 of a cup. Again, you know what else I just did wrong? I was going to say it's for like a full pound of pasta, but no. So the recipe is actually using a half of a pound of pasta, which is fine. Like when when I see recipes that call for half a pound of pasta, it kind of like, I'm like, really? What am I going to do with the other half pound of pasta? But this recipe, you could double it, but that's a lot of lemons to be zesting and peeling and then not really using the juice from. So I don't double this particular recipe. So it would call for 8 ounces or half of a pound of pasta. I am obviously doing the full pound in there. And I'm going to hold off by putting this in so I can talk to you for a second. So what I'll just do is I'm just going to use half of the pasta for this particular dish. And then the other half, now I have a half a pound of pasta that's just cooked and ready to go. It's going to have this nice little lemony flavor that I can just use with my salads. I can add it to things, for the rest of the weekend. So no wasting, certainly, with that. So if you want to just go ahead and cook the full pound, just use the other half a pound that you're not going to use in this particular dish. Now it's just going to be kind of plain pasta. There's one lonely little lemon peel in here. So let me just grab that. Okay. So this is almost done. I'm going to let it go a little longer than the, I'm just going to go a little longer than the 9 minutes because it didn't come right up to a boil right away. So let's go ahead and finish this. So I'm going to add the 1/3 of a cup of olive oil now into our little lemon pistachio pesto. All right, let me just whirl this up just for like okay, good. Now we've got the nice little pesto paste that you can see now. Okay, this is going to be our sauce for our pasta. All right, so I'm going to pull this to the side. Now, I do have a 2-cup measure. I am going to now take out 2 cups, well, maybe 1.5 cups of this. You probably won't even need that much. 1.5 cups of the pasta water. Let me just show you that. Let me just dump this. Okay, turn it off. So I'm going to just, I don't need any more of the water because I've already measured off 1.5 cups. So let me just, oh my dog's here. All right, let me pour this off. And we're going to use this pot to cook everything in. All right, so since I have, let me just, so it doesn't drip all over. Since I don't need all of this, let me just take about half of this pasta. And I'm going to go ahead and put half of it back in. All right, and then I'll save the other half for another, a little bit more. All right. And now we'll save the other half for another time. All right, so we have the pasta in here. Now we're going to take the basil pesto, I'm sorry, the lemon and pistachio pesto, and we're going to now just add that right to the, I'm going to take this little blade out. And it is cute, it's a pretty like, you know, green color here. So I'm going to add this to the pasta. This is going to be the start of our sauce. And then to help finish the sauce, we're going to use some of this pasta water. So this is just kind of, you kind of have to gauge it. We have a 1.5 cups of the pasta liquid that has that starchy, it's the starchy pasta water that helps to create, you know, a thicker kind of sauce. You just kind of have to judge how much you think you might need to add. I'm going to just mix this up a little bit with just the pesto that we just made. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of the, maybe like half a cup to 3/4 cup of pasta water, the starchy pasta water. And I'm just going to mix that around. And then I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes just to see, because it'll absorb some of that water the longer it sits. So whenever you make something like this, and I'm doing this all off heat, because we don't need it to be. I'm going to let it sit. And I'm going to save, look at how pretty that water is. Look at the yellow, because that's, again, that was from the peel of the lemon, and that's a really nice lemony flavor. So let me push some things here to the side. So now we have our, make sure I remembered everything. I think I did. Okay. So we have our lemony pasta, and I'll show you that in just a second. I'm going to get this back out so I can use this to dish it out. So we have the lemony pasta. So basically we have our whole wheat pasta that we cooked. We saved about 1.5 cups of the water. And with this, we used maybe 3/4 cup with the pesto to create a sauce. Save this. Don't throw this away. Because if you don't eat all of this, or if you're not eating all of this pasta in one serving, with, you know, if this serves like 4 people, then it's going to seize up a little bit, and it's going to get a little bit thicker. And if you want to then thin it a little bit, just put it back into like a little saucepan with a little bit of this pasta water that you're going to save in your refrigerator, and then thin it back down again. All right. So that's just, so do not throw this away. This is just a great, this is just handy to have around for anything. Pasta water is that starchy pasta water is great to just add to sauces when you need to thin something out a little bit, but you don't want it to get too thin. So the starchiness of the pasta water will help keep it a little on the thicker side as well. All right, so let me just dish this out. And remember with pasta, I mean, pasta is a super healthy addition to everyone's eating plan. And whether, you know, you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to maintain a healthy weight, or whether you are managing blood sugar, it can fit, it can work. It's very satisfying. There's just different ways that you can make it to make it fit. So something like this has about 7 grams of protein, maybe a little more. It's probably up to around 10 or 11 grams of protein with the pistachios that are in here. It's got great healthy fat, so it has this beautiful balance of like a high fiber carbohydrate from the fiber that's in the whole grain pasta. Then you have the healthy fat from the pistachios and the olive oil, and then the beautiful fresh flavor from the lemon. So you really have this beautifully balanced nutritionally kind of dish. Now, if you wanted it to be a little more protein based, which some people do, because this is certainly going to be on the light end of protein for most of us if we're going to serve this as an entree. So you just might want to make you might want to just bake off or grill off some salmon or some shrimp or some chicken if you want to serve that with this. And since you have all the lemon out already, make like a little lemon, olive oil, salt and pepper, a little dressing or sauce, and you could use some of this pasta water to make like a little sauce. If you wanted to use that as a little, or even as a little marinade for, your shrimp or your chicken, you could do a little quick little lemon marinade, or you can make like a little lemon dressing that you could just kind of drizzle over if you're just going to simply like grill off maybe salmon or shrimp. If you wanted to supplement this, and then I would just serve this with a great salad, some dark leafy greens to help, again, sort of balance it out. Because when it comes to pasta, we don't need this huge serving of pasta and only pasta at a meal. You want this to be balanced, right? So you want to have maybe a little extra protein if you feel you need that, but definitely lots of veggies. So some dark leafy greens, some grilled zucchini, maybe some, this is sort of summery, so whatever the summer vegetables are in. So I would serve this with, since we have these lemons, I cut one, even though I took the zest off, who really cares, right? I'm going to put this, you can serve this with a wedge of lemon. I have, again, we're still getting this gorgeous basil from the garden. So I would just top it with, again, using your little kitchen shears if you don't want to, because I didn't really need my cutting board today. I didn't really need my knife. I'm just going to, you can just top it with a little fresh basil if you have that. And if you want to, you don't have to, because again, I feel like not every pasta dish has to be topped with cheese. It's delicious, but we don't always have to do this. This is so much flavor by itself that I don't, let me just taste it real quick, because I don't know if you might need to add a little salt and pepper. It's so good. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't need any more sodium. For my husband, he probably would add more. But anyway, so, and the pasta is really nice al dente. It has a great crunch, not crunch, but texture. I don't think it needs cheese. If you want to do some shredded Parmesan cheese, tablespoon or so on top when you're serving it, great. It has so much flavor for me without it. I don't think you need it. So the recipe says you can drizzle it with a little extra finishing, really good extra virgin olive oil if you want to. Again, I don't think you need it. You're getting a nice, rich flavor from the pistachios and from the olive oil. You don't need it. This is just an absolutely light and fun and easy, simple weeknight meal. I'm going to have this for lunch. For me, this is great. I probably will have maybe some sliced tomatoes to go with it because we have them from the garden. But I feel like this for me for lunch is plenty as far as protein. If I was having it at dinner, I might add a little bit. I have some leftover grilled chicken strips. I might add that with it. But again, pasta is, I think, fabulous to have. You can go gluten-free if you need to. Obviously, that's available. You can do bean-based or legume-based pastas. Those are going to be higher in protein. So that's a really good option for some of you. You can do just regular pasta if you don't love the whole grain. You can pick up your whole grain somewhere else. So, but I happen to love this particular brand of whole wheat pasta. I think it's really satisfying and filling. You don't need to then eat quite as much. All right, one simple recipe. So you've got the recipe, you can get it on our blog, you hopefully are getting our newsletter. Every week we come out with one simple recipe for you to cook, just to help take that one step closer to, to healthier eating, as well as hopefully overall better health, right? Keeping it simple as much as we can. I'm going to be away for the next couple of weeks, so I'll miss you. I won't be going live, but I'll be back probably early in September, and we'll start right back up again where we left off. We will be putting out the newsletter, though, continuing to do that weekly, as well as our recipes will continue to be posting. So reach out if you need any nutrition support. As always, as a registered and licensed dietitian, I do meet individually, virtually with clients. A lot of my clients tend to be kind of, maybe 50 and up. A lot of women I work with that are kind of in those years, or premenopausal, postmenopausal, struggling a little bit with their health and really just need to kind of get their eating plan in place. So reach out if that's you. Be happy to chat with you. And we also have Taylor, is a dietitian that is also with us, that is working with a lot of our other clients as well. All right, stay well for the next couple weeks, and try this one simple recipe. Let me know if you do. Take care. Bye-bye.